Welcome to episode 102 of Broad Street Hustle. Action-packed show tonight. Talk about last night's Sixers game. Talk series versus the Knicks. NBA preview. Little Masters recap, and we'll finish off with the Phillies. I'm your host, Tommy Nanny. As always, joined by Jason Santa.
Hey, what's up, Tom?
Jason. We got Chalky there.
What's up, Tom?
What's up, Chalk? We got Christopher Michael Meeker.
Greetings. How are you?
And we do have a special guest. We've been trying to lure him onto the podcast for 2 years now. Took 101 episodes, and we finally got him. For those watching on YouTube, yes, he is as unathletic as he appears on your screen. Omar Bowers. Hello, Omar.
What's going on, guys?
Glad to have you on the show. We got. So let me get this right. You're a Knicks fan. Is that what we're?
I am a Knicks fan. You know, I had to represent with the shirt, so you guys know. Like you said, it's been 2 years. We've talked about a number of things. A number of us go way back, and but this is the right time because this is the year. We'll get into that a little bit later.
Now, did you grow up in New York? Did you grow up in New York?
Yeah, I grew up in New York. I grew up in New York. Came to Philly, a couple decades ago. So I'm actually an Eagles fan, but still everything else is New York. So Yankees, Knicks, Rangers, but diehard Knicks. And you guys know the Eagles well. You do a great job there, but when it comes to basketball, I think it was time for me to come out and help you guys out. So glad to be on.
Yeah, we'll definitely get you when we preview the series. And it's been a long time since the Knicks had a relevant basketball game, so it should be exciting.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump into last night's game before we preview the Knicks. I mean, awesome. It was I heard a couple times it was the worst game I ever seen. That turned out to be one of the best games that I've watched. That the first half was just awful. We saw the difference a coach makes. We were talking about it. Embiid looked dead for 3 quarters, and all of a sudden he came alive. You thought you were getting playoff Embiid, and he actually woke up and took over in the fourth quarter. And Batum saved the season with coming off the bench. So, Jason, talk about the game. Does it concern you the way Embiid played, or does the way he finished give you some, thinking he's going to turn around? Is he still injured? So, just do a little recap for us.
So I don't think he's still injured. I think the problem is his conditioning is not good. To me, it looks like he stayed off of his knee or feet or whatever since he tweaked it in that Friday night game. Almost a week ago, and he just didn't work on any conditioning in that time, and you could tell he was slumped over. He was hanging on his shorts. You could even see, like, when he gets out of shape, you could see his arms are like flabby. Like when he's in shape, he's you could tell
he's tighter. He's
tighter. Yeah, and he definitely looked like he was out of shape last night. Now, will he have any conditioning before Saturday, or is he just going to have to work his way into shape during the series? It may be that he's got to work his way into playing shape. But I know I was texting you guys in the first half. The first half was just ugly last night. I mean, Spoelstra's one of the best coaches, if not the best coach in the league, and he had that zone going, and they just could not figure it out. And I was screaming, like, you have to attack a zone. Like, you can't let a zone get set up, number one, and then if it does get set up, you got to attack it one way or the other. You either have to attack it before it sets up, or if it sets up, you also have to attack it. You have to attack the gaps. You gotta keep moving. Don't be sedentary or just kind of staying in one spot, which they just had no idea how to attack it. Maxey looked lost. I said to myself, I don't know if I said it to you guys, but I was like, Nurse has got to coach them through this at halftime. And he sure as hell did, because, the second half, they started attacking it. Maxey started like penetrating the gaps and collapsing the zone and stuff like that. And Even Embiid was very lackadaisical in the first half, and he started even attack. They all started attacking the zone, so that opened things up. And then of course, like you said, Batum was just unbelievable. I mean, I know I've mentioned before how much I like the role players on this team, and I mentioned I think Batum just looks like a playoff player. Like he just he's a veteran, and I mean when he's in that corner, he does not miss. Like when he's got the open three in the corner, he's money, right? And he was just money all over the court last night. And it wasn't only offensively, like defensively, they made him shut down Butler before Butler got hurt. Then they put him on Hero, and he was on Bam for a while. He was all over the place on defense last night. His inbounding the ball is great. I mean, he's just a good basketball player. The problem is, he played almost 30 minutes last night. And while you want him to play a lot, you don't want him to play a lot because he's 35 years old. So, once his legs...
He's battled injuries throughout the year, too.
Yeah, I mean, he was playing like once every 3 games. So, and then, when you're tired, your legs go and your shots don't go. So, like, you don't want that happening. So, you got to keep him in the low 20s minute-wise. So, but, I mean, Embiid, like you said, Embiid turned it on in the fourth quarter. He was great. Even Buddy Hield, I've been very critical of Buddy Hield, and he had a really good game last night.
I was surprised with him because a lot of his offense came on penetrating the lane, which is not what you were expecting from him.
No.
I mean, he missed an easy layup on one, but a couple of his drives he did make assists. I think there was a put. I think Batum's putback was off of a heel drive. So
but like you said, like Nick Nurse, like do they win that game if it's Doc Rivers? No. They don't. Nick Nurse is just a fantastic coach. So I'm not disappointed in what happened last night. I'm actually encouraged because of the way, the role players and everybody else chipped in and they won that game.
Yeah, I mean, the last, few years, that's a game they lose.
Oh, absolutely.
For sure. So the fact that they did get the win is big. I mean, some of Embiid looks like he did maybe he was definitely out of shape, and he was like the last player back on a lot of times going offense to defense or vice versa. But he kind of saved himself, it felt like, a little bit, like, for the fourth quarter. I mean, if you watch, Butler in the regular season, he was that kind of player. Like, you could tell he's not going balls to the wall on every single play. That he's an older guy now. And it looked like Embiid may have done that a little bit. Now, was it because the Sixers were, like, in the game in the fourth quarter? So it's like he knew he had that ability to turn it on. But, we've seen in years past where he's diving for balls. He's flopping in early in the game. So, it was nice. It was encouraging. Chalky, instant reaction?
Well, about halfway through the third quarter, I had a completely different narrative in my head on how I was going to go scorched earth on the team. But obviously it turned around. I mean, being at the game, it was the most exciting game, not having gone to a lot of games the last couple of years, even though I have the tickets. Probably the Boston game where they hit a couple shots late in the playoffs last year would have been the most exciting one to get to. But I mean, it's not a playoff game, but it was a playoff atmosphere. And, I mean, the game was really like I was thinking about today, it was really like 4 different waves. Like halfway through the first quarter, the Sixers had kept the Heat to 4 points. Adebayo was going out with 2 fouls already, and they couldn't hit a shot and they looked lost. But the Sixers only had 12, so I'm thinking like, they should be up more, but things are going their way. And then like a switch flipped, and all of a sudden they're turning the ball over. And some of the easiest fast break I feel, Butler had how many easy layups or dunks on the fast break where there was nobody that was coming back on the other side of half court. And then that Miami took that from that, halfway through the first quarter to halfway through the third quarter, they went up, they had like a 20-point plus run or whatever. And then, they come out of that timeout. Martin's got the 2 free throws. Miami's up 11. He misses both. Before he comes out, I'm looking at my phone to see if the Phillies are over. So I'm trying to time when to leave the arena, because I'm figuring I'm not hanging around for much of the fourth quarter if this doesn't pick up. And the Phillies were in the middle of giving up 5 runs in the 8th. They missed the free throws. Everybody goes, the arena, I don't know how much it came across on TV, but the arena erupted when they got their Chick-fil-A, the 5 nuggets. And so that was the first energy you really had in the arena since the first quarter. And then Batum, boom, hits a 3. Then Hield comes down and gets a basket. And I don't know if they called timeout then or after another basket, but the Sixers go on an 8-0 run. All of a sudden, it's a 1-possession game. And then the rest of the game, it's back and forth. And, the crowd, it was as riled up as a crowd as I've, in any of the last couple of years that I've been down there that I've seen. And, Batum is very much the hero for good reasons, but the fact that he was able to completely play different second half, because don't forget, he had a couple of those bad turnovers in the first half when they gave up 12 turnovers and they were outscored, I think, 18-2 in the first half on points off of turnovers. And that was the complete difference how Miami got the lead at the half. Miami wasn't shooting well and they weren't playing well, but the Sixers were just playing worse and giving them easy buckets. But you mentioned the adjustments at halftime, and I think it was one of the players after the game said, they mentioned what, Nurse talking to them at halftime, and they also said that Embiid looked at Batum and somebody else, and he's like, they're collapsing on me. You guys get open and I'll get you the ball. And Batum only had like 1 or 2 shots in the first half, and then he got open, but he started putting up the threes and they started going in. It'll be interesting to see, how they kind of play things for the first game, which we'll get into. But obviously Harris was not on the court for the last 5 minutes or so of the game last night. So we'll see where that goes. And the other thing is, you're down Melton, which is going to hurt. Kyle Lowry still has that dog in him, but 30 minutes a night is a lot to ask of him. So, I don't know. You don't really have much else choice if you're going to start him and put him in there, and he can be a heart and soul of the team. And then just lastly, I'll say, Embiid looked totally washed at the start of the fourth quarter, and then he went out for a break, and then he was able to turn it on for the last, 4 minutes or whatever, and put some really nice plays together. So, I was expecting to come here and say, I hope they lose tomorrow night and don't make the real playoffs and do whatever. So we actually have a series to talk about, so I won't complain about that.
All right, Meeker, anything left for you?
Not much. The only thing I would say is it seems like Nurse has been using that strategy with Embiid, since in this 9-0 run that they're on. They just keep him out like maybe towards the beginning of the fourth quarter and, let him play towards the back end of the fourth quarter. And, he had a lot of energy, I think, in the last 7 minutes of the game or so. Made a great pass to Oubre. That was a really big play as well. Nick Batum, you're mentioning, obviously was the hero of this game. The Sixers were 11-11 in games that he did not play this year, 36-24 in games that he did. So very important part of the team, both offensively and defensively, obviously showed last night. And look, going forward, they're going to need guys like this to step up in these games. We're going to have to get contributions from these complementary players like Batum and Hield, and we're going to talk about that, obviously. And that's going to be a big part of what I think is a key to them winning the series against the Knicks. But that's what it takes to win playoff games, is to have some of these guys step up in big situations, and he was the guy last night. I won't say they're lucky to be here, but one thing I am noticing is that throughout a lot of these play-in games, I'm noticing the refs are kind of swallowing the whistle a little bit, and teams are playing really physical, and there's no doubt that this series against the Knicks is going to be a physical series, so we'll see how that plays out when it comes to, how they control Embiid on the defensive side of it.
Yeah, I don't know how much they said on TV last night, but live at the game, I can complain because the Sixers won, but the refs looked completely awful. It's a Tony Brothers game, so I expected it from the start. But like the Nets got their hand through the net twice. That's an automatic goaltend, and there was no call. And then guys, part of the reason I think Maxey was shook up in the first half is he took that nasty elbow, and he probably had cobwebs and was seeing stars for a while.
He got introduced to playoff basketball. How it should be.
So
they can't call that what they called on Batum at the end of the game like that. They were doing that the whole game. The end of the game. The delay
game. The delay game was bogus.
That was kind of just to make it closer. Nah, but throughout the game, the Sixers got away with some hard fouls too. Definitely. So it was not.
Batum pushed Hero over the mid-court.
I'm not saying it was completely one-sided against the Sixers, but it was a lot of the over and back. I mean, live, I didn't even know that. I couldn't even see if he actually crossed it, but
his
foot. His foot.
But it seemed like they were struggling a lot. A couple didn't go the Sixers' way, obviously.
For the Sixers, like you said about Maxey, it was like his introduction to the playoffs. He was shook after he got punched or elbowed, whatever it was. And it took him a while to get right back into the rhythm. His penetration, he was like doing the drive and just throw it anywhere. He gave Lowry the ball with like 2 seconds on the shot clock.
He was very confused in the first half.
So I think this game actually may help him. Like, okay, it's a different animal now that we're in the playoffs. All right, let's go into the series, and this is where we're going to bring Omar in. So it's Sixers-Knicks. So DraftKings had the Sixers at a slight minus 110, but I think both teams are minus. I don't think there was a plus.
Sixers are favorite.
Yeah, but aren't the Knicks still are they a minus as well?
Yeah, Sixers are minus 115 and Knicks are minus 105. I don't know if they changed, but
I thought I saw minus 110 on the Sixers.
Maybe it changed.
Yeah,
but the first game was a pick'em, right?
Knicks were favored last I saw on that.
So
are they favored?
Now the series is actually 110-110.
Okay.
So
difference. BetMGM had 110 for most of the day. DraftKings had Sixers 115, Knicks minus 105 earlier. So it's close, but it's varied a little bit.
So I mean, Vegas is telling you it's a toss up. Omar, Sixers, Knicks, 7 games. Knicks have the edge with home court. You're a Knicks guy. What do you say?
Yeah, so, I mean, you guys started talking about it, right? The physical basketball that started being played last night, and you saw how the Sixers struggled. Embiid, we can talk about Embiid, his playoff struggles. That's, everyone knows about that and what happens there. Whether he's healthy or not, he's off. So he's still going to give you what he gives you, 20 and 10, fine. That's the Embiid stuff. Mika, you started mentioning it. This game comes down to the role players, right? Jalen Brunson is going to be Jalen Brunson. He's going to be fabulous. He's done it last year. That's great. It comes down to the other guys, which, again, when you talk about playing as a unit, this is where I think the Knicks have the edge over the Sixers. I look at what happened last night. I look at the Sixers defensively. And, I'll tell you, Miami just missed a lot of wide open shots, right? They had their chances to win the game. They missed. Tyler Hero did not show up in the second half. He was missing just wide open shots. It was ridiculous, right? Bam, I don't know what happened to Bam. That's not the guy that they, and you just need another guy. So, it was terrible for Jimmy Butler. Jalen Brunson, essentially, if you want to, kind of do the comparison, we'll need some guys, right? Those guys have been Dante DiVincenzo. They talk about the Villanova connection, Josh Hart. And I'll tell you the other guy that I love, and Jason, I've been talking about him for a while, is Hartenstein. And they've really started to figure out how to get Hartenstein out in open space. And he's more than just a scorer. He's also a passer, which I think will do the Knicks very, very, very well. Now, the Sixers, obviously, Maxey, they'll struggle with Maxey, and Maxey will get his points and do what he does. Batum, can he do this over a 7-game series? Who knows, right? I think everyone will have a game. You'll see role players here and there, come out and do all right. But over a long 7-game series, I just don't think the Sixers have enough with the physicality that the Knicks have to really last. So I say Knicks in 6.
Okay. Jason, how do you see Sixers Knicks?
Yeah, I mean, I agree in one sense with what Omar said. And I love the role players on the Sixers. Oubre, I can't say enough about that guy. Like, he's got balls, man. Like, if Harris had half of the balls that Kelly Oubre had, Harris would be what we want him to be.
That's what got Oubre back in trouble in November, though.
Yeah.
I'll take that out in post.
No, that's whatever. Anyway, but no, I mean, Oubre's been great. I love Lowry. Like you said, like maybe he's playing a few minutes too many, but
Lowry just needs to stop bitching about the whistle and just play.
He's a crybaby.
He tried to get a foul on the one. It cost him a layup. He was waiting for contact.
Yeah.
He didn't get back on defense because he was yelling at an official on a play.
Yeah.
But he also got killed on the goaltend where it was like Hero mugged him and
that he got hammered.
yeah.
on that play, yeah.
And then, of course, Batum. But there's one role player that we're forgetting. Now, he didn't play last night, and I hope he could get into this series because he's going to be important, and that's Melton. Because Melton is going to be a guy who's going to take some minutes from Lowry, but he's also going to be a guy who's going to be on Brunson. And he's one of the best on-the-ball defenders in the league, right? So Melton is very important in this series. Now, this guy's been hurt forever. I don't know what his issue is. His back or spine or whatever's going on. So I really want him to come back, and I think he's going to be important. But, getting back into the Sixers, like Nick Nurse is just like 10 times the coach that Rivers is. Like, I mean, having Nick Nurse in these playoffs is just so much different than what we're used to. And, I think it's going to show even more than it showed last night. We have Maxey who's taken the next step up. I mean, this year's Maxey is better than, last year's Harden. Like, it's not even close if you ask me. I mean, he's just a better player. If Embiid's healthy, he's unstoppable. If he's healthy and he's in shape, right? I kind of think he's healthy. I don't think his knee is bothering him. I think he's just got to play himself into shape. Now, he might not be in the shape until Game 3. I don't know. Just depends on how quickly he could get into playing shape. But Brunson's just unreal. I mean, Brunson, I really like him. He's going to get his 30 points. But maybe Melton could beat him up a little bit. I don't know. He is a legit superstar. And OG, Omar knows how much I love OG, right? I wanted the Sixers for years to get OG. But OG's a great number 3, right? Star. He's a great, he's not a role player. He's like your perfect number 3. Right now, he's their number 2, right? Right? He's their second best player.
Defensive. Yeah, if you go all around, you talk about.
All around, he's their second best player, right?
But they're not leaning on him for offense almost at all.
No,
since he's been back.
And you mentioned DiVincenzo and Hart are great role players. I even like Achua. I think he's a pretty decent player. Achua, right? And Hartenstein. Hartenstein, to me, we go back and forth, me and Omar on this. I think he's a great backup. Great backup. I mean, one of the best, if not the best backup in the league. As a starter, come on, man. As a starter,
you're going to find out the hard way.
Okay,
like everyone else,
because he's going to play against the top 2 centers.
You're going to find out. Right? You're going to find out the hard way.
But the Knicks are missing a number 2 star. Like if they get one in the off season, look out next year. I'll readily admit it. Look out.
They had him, but he's hurt. He's
not. He stinks, Randall. Get out with Randall. Omar, help me out because you don't like Randall, right?
I mean, I don't like him, but okay. I give the guy credit for what he is.
He's no number 2 star on the championship team. He's not. He's just not. So
he could score. I mean, that's the thing that they're missing.
Okay, I mean, Reggie Theus could score, and all those guys back in the day. Orlando Woolridge, remember him? He could score. He stunk.
I mean, one thing I'm hearing is the Knicks are possibly the worst number 2 seed in NBA playoff history.
Record-wise, or just
it's possible.
Talent-wise,
expectation like. They're not. Are they a number?
Listen, they're number 2 seed who's basically got the same odds in the series as a number 7 seed. So in that sense, yes.
Well,
the Sixers are the second. And I don't know if that changed since this afternoon, but they had the second best odds to win the East.
Yeah, they were like 14-1. Now Boston was
They're 7-1. They were 7-1. They were 7-1.
Oh, did they drop? Oh, to win the East. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I saw somebody tweet today that, whether it's accurate or not, that the Sixers are the first 7 seed ever to open the series as a favorite over the 2 seed, where they were listed as a favorite in the 1 through 8 seeding in NBA history.
Right. There you go.
No, I do think the Sixers are a better 7 seed than typically 7 seeds. But in general, and now the East just isn't that good. I mean, the Magic being a 2 seed would have been another, joke.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I mean,
the
as bad as the Sixers were for massive stretches of the season, that they finished 3 games back of the Knicks, so it's not your typical 2-7 disparity when you think about, like, Sixers aren't a play-in team with Embiid. Like, they're not, and you look at the other 3 teams in there, it's night and day when the Sixers are healthy.
Yeah.
The Sixers would have been the 2 seed if Embiid doesn't get hurt. I mean, this is not,
probably
saying chalky. Like, it's not a typical 2-7 series.
Yeah, and Jace, so what is your ultimately, what do you have this series?
So 2 things. I'm going to give you my prediction in a second, but I did re-listen to our NBA season preview episode, so I do want to throw in some of our good picks and some of our not so good picks at some point. And I want to keep Omar on for this because I try to educate Omar in basketball, so he might be proud of me. Anyway, my prediction is the Sixers in 6 games.
All right.
That's insane.
I
mean, I get it.
Why don't you tell Vegas?
6 games.
You want to tell
insane.
Vegas?
The Knicks. I mean, the Knicks have showed you, if not anything, that they can win here in Philadelphia.
Whoa. Okay, I'm glad you brought that up. Hold on. I'm glad you brought that up because the 2 games they won here, you know who didn't play? Do you know who didn't play? Joel Embiid.
Who didn't play?
Joel Embiid. And in one of the games that the Sixers won against them, Embiid and Maxey didn't play. So,
yeah,
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, which they weren't. Listen, the Knicks travel well, which we all know. And again, here, especially in Philadelphia, which I think some of us will be at the game, it feels almost like a home game sometime for the Knicks.
Mainly because 3 of their players played at Villanova.
It's going to be different in the playoffs, I think.
I hope so, because I was embarrassed for the 76ers some of the times when I come here. I was embarrassed. But seriously, the Knicks and the disrespect that the Knicks are getting around the league is exactly what they want. It's exactly what makes Brunson a dog and gives them the continuous drive. So I love it.
Well, I will say one thing, that Paul Reed is an idiot. Like, he shouldn't be opening his mouth and saying stupid stuff. Did you hear what he said?
I didn't hear what he said.
He said that we'd rather play the Knicks because they're easier. Like, why are you saying something like that? Like, just shut up. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So, Mika, I'll give you a chance since it'll give you some meat left on the bone.
Yeah. So on purpose today, I listened to 3 New York Knicks podcasts to see how the atmosphere is there and how confident
are they fan podcasts? Or are they like somebody?
No, the one was, I think, a fan podcast, and they should be embarrassed for themselves because they were awful. I mean, it was unlistenable. I had to turn it off after 15 minutes. But then there were guys that
there's somebody in New York saying the same thing about Broad Street Hustle right now.
I don't think anybody in New York's listening to Broad Street Hustle,
believe
to be
me.
honest. But maybe this week, Omar
These
gets
guys,
back.
We've got guys.
Omar, you better.
There were some other guys that that were pretty sharp. Anyway, and I took away some things that they believe, and probably I believe too, that are Knicks' keys to win in this series. One is to wear and beat out defensively, and I'll have you respond to this, Omar, at the end here. Obviously, having others beat them other than Embiid, play more up tempo, which they're not used to playing, by the way. So if you want to wear out Embiid, I think that's what you're going to have to do if you're the Knicks, and that's just not their game. Brunson needs to be as great as he's been in the regular season, so we'll see if that holds true, because he hasn't actually played very well against the Sixers if you haven't looked at his stats, even when Embiid's not playing. And they definitely need to get effective minutes out of Robinson, Hartenstein, and the rest of the role players like
Bogdanovich. Yep.
So those are the keys that I took from these podcasts today for the Knicks winning this series. You want to talk about any of that?
So I think the big one, which I'm glad you mentioned, that is, you saw it in the Miami game with their zone. The Knicks don't have a zone like that. I don't know whether they'll take anything from Miami and try to implement that. You guys talked about the struggles, but what the Knicks do often is they pack the paint and then they say, go ahead and shoot, right? And that's, again, what they'll implement, which will give Embiid some struggles and force other guys to go ahead and make shots. Maybe Batum will step up again. We know it's not Harris. Maxey can definitely do it. We'll see. if the other guys can recover or what'll happen. But it plays well. That first point you made to how the Knicks generally have played defensively throughout the year. Other than that, again, you talk about the bench, Bogdan, Hartenstein, Robinson. I don't know how healthy he is. Getting quality minutes out of them, sure. Especially playing against a guy like Reed and, kind of that second team would be huge. So we'll see. But again, I do think ultimately, when I think about it, I'm giving Brunson, Maxey, and Embiid sort of their points, right? And that's sort of like a wash to some extent. And OG, and it's coming down to those role players, which are your guys that are 5, 6, 7 on the list, as opposed to those top guys. So that's really where it's going to win, right? Which they used to call the X factors.
Yeah. So now, for the rest of us, we'll talk about the Sixers' keys to winning this series. One being to keep the Knicks off the offensive glass and limit their second chance opportunities. So that means Embiid's going to have to get a little gritty. He's going to have to play physical for that to happen, because they have some size. And when Embiid rests, they have to keep pace and not fall behind. You're going to have to rest them, and they have to get effective minutes out of a guy like Paul Reed in these circumstances, and keep pace when he's on the bench.
Yeah, the Sixers struggled a little bit yesterday. There was multiple possessions early, more in the first half, where he got a lot of second chance opportunities and then buried a three. It turned into, a 0-point possession to a 3-point possession. And what turned it was in the third quarter, about halfway through the third quarter, is when Embiid turned up his rebounding. And he really started to get much better on the defensive boards. And they limited those second chances for Miami. So obviously for the Knicks here, it's going to be similar.
Yeah. I think Kyle Lowry is a big key in this series, because he's going to see a lot of Jalen Brunson. I think he's obviously going to D up Jalen Brunson more than anyone else on the team. I think Nurse has to outcoach Tibbs, and I think Tibbs is a good coach. He's definitely a good coach. So he has to figure out an offensive game plan that doesn't wear Embiid down too much and get open shots in the pick and roll and the pick and pop. And someone like a healed Batum, like last night, Lowry is going to have to catch fire in one of these games, and they're going to have to steal one of these games with that kind of effort, like a Batum type effort, probably on the road too. I think that's going to have to happen on the road. And if they steal a game, and I think the most important one is game one, then I think the Sixers win in 6. If they lose game one, I think with home court advantage, the Knicks could win in 7. But I'm going to predict that they're going to win game one, and I'm going to pick the Sixers in 6.
All right, Chalky, you're up.
So, to Omar's point, I think one of the reasons why people might be, not regarding the Knicks as highly as maybe they should is because they've been an absolutely disappointing and embarrassing franchise for almost 20 years now, 25 years really, since Ewing left. And I mean, this is, you could say the Lakers and Boston are the marquee franchises, but this is, at the time, was the only team in New York City a stone's throw away from the league headquarters. And if you look how they've been over 25, they've won, 2, maybe 3 playoff series in the last 25 years. And now that Dan Snyder sold Washington, James Dolan is probably at the top of the list for, worst owners in professional sports. But they're a marquee franchise that wheeled in guys like Larry Brown, Phil Jackson, Isaiah Thomas, Hall of Fame names that weren't the right choices. And so I think to some case there's expectation of, this will be the same old Knicks. And I do think that's not giving them enough credit if that's the way folks are looking at it. I mean, this is probably the most likable Knicks team for me because I'm a Nova guy. So the Nova Knicks are all guys that I like and would have loved to have had the Sixers.
How was the Nova season? Just had a...
Well, these guys have multiple national championships.
I didn't
winners.
follow it. I was just asking.
I'm not talking about this year's Nova team. I'm talking about the guys that are on the Knicks. They're winners. They're national champions several times over. And I mean, even a guy like DiVincenzo, who didn't play enough minutes he could consider for most improved player, but he finished top 5 all-time threes made in a season or whatever it was, some crazy stat, and he shot 40%. So he's not going to, if he's getting those Tyler Hero looks from last night, he's going to be making more than Hero, most likely, I would say. I think, Omar mentioned the zone thing, and I don't know if the guy was joking, but one of the Sixers writers tweeted today that the Heat played more zone in the second quarter than the Knicks have played all season. And so it's not a look that the Sixers are going to see. But one of the breakdowns from one of the games earlier, and this was a game without Embiid, mind you, because he missed 3 of the 4. It was just time after time. They were leaving Tobias Harris open, and he was taking shots, and he was not making them. So I hate to say that Harris is the key to the series, but if they're going to give him those looks, he's got to make the shots and then make the team adjust, because Batum cannot become your starter and play 30, 35 minutes a game and for them to win the series. It's just not going to happen. So Harris has to give you something out of this series if that's the way they're going to try to play it. And Hartenstein and Robinson are good defensive centers, so they could give Embiid a little bit of trouble, and that concerns me because Embiid can get in his feelings, and then he starts wanting the ball every time, and he starts getting a little, out of control. So hopefully he can get off to a quick start tomorrow to not really get himself into a hole. I think it's going to be a good series. I was going to say Sixers in 6, which is the popular choice. It'll probably end up Knicks in 7 because that's like the worst thing we could have, because it throws off like multiple recording week schedules, and Derby Day would be Game 7 losing. So that's probably what it ends up, because that's the life of a Philadelphia sports fan. But I'll go Sixers in 6.
The one thing I'll throw in about Embiid is I'm hoping that last night will encourage him, and I think he's been doing it throughout the year, and I think this is a lot of nurse, is like he's become a really good passer. Yeah, and like he's now,
I didn't mention it, but that pass that for the Oubre and one that was huge, huge. And it was a great look, great pass, and it wasn't an easy pass.
How about the passes to Batum? Like he was giving Batum the ball where Batum and Batum's such a quick shooter. Like he was giving him the ball where he could.
Yeah, and that's what he was saying. He was saying get it up, and like that's why I would like to see Embiid and Hield more, because Hield's got a quick trigger, and if he's open, he can make those shots, and that's where you're going to get the most use out of him.
It comes back to your point. Who's going to be open is Harris, right? Embiid throwing it to Harris. It comes right back to your point.
Or Batum or Harris.
Harris was pulled for a good portion of that game for Batum.
Yeah. And apparently there's a potential Twitter burner scandal with Harris or somebody affiliated with him from this morning. I was listening to the radio on 97.5. They were saying, but one other thing, my prediction, I don't think Melton's playing this series. I don't know if he plays next series if the Sixers make it that far. So I don't think you can assume he gets in the lineup before the conference championships at the earliest, by the way Nurse was talking the other day.
Yeah, that hurts.
And Covington sounds like he's the no-go for the whole playoffs. So
the one thing about yesterday's game too is it may have given Embiid a little more confidence about that knee too. He especially an athlete, they come off an injury. Sometimes there's a little trust factor in the injury. Then you tear your ACL. You see players, it takes them a while to do. Can I do this? Can I do that? And as he got stronger in the fourth quarter, you may see, especially he came back and his knee buckled, whatever it was 2 games ago. Now he might be thinking, okay, I have a little more confidence. I could do this. I could do that. So yeah, I actually think the playing game might have been the best thing for the Sixers than to just go right into the series versus the Knicks. I think, like we said, Maxey learned a little bit. Embiid, maybe trusting his knee. He messed around with your rotations a little bit. So,
and I think that's a great point. Sorry to interrupt you, but I just want to validate that, because look, the Heat were not a great team. Jimmy Butler tore his MCL in the first quarter and played on one leg the rest of the game. But that's arguably the best coach in the league, who wears a shirt that's 2 sizes too small, but he's still one of the best coaches in the league. And that is a finals caliber team that's been there multiple times. That's a tough tested team. So to be able to win that playing game against a team like that, I think it should be huge for their confidence and momentum, to your point. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'll just give my prediction real quick without too much dialogue. So the DraftKings has under 5.5 as minus 200 for the series. Everybody on this panel went more than 5.5. So everybody's picking the, not the favorite. So I'll go with the chalk. And I think the Sixers are going to win it. And if I stick with Vegas, under 5.5, I'll go Sixers in 5. And no, doesn't seem like that's going to be the outcome. But, the fact that Vegas has under 5. Now, it doesn't say which way. It was just the series, so that could be Knicks as well. But
one thing I'll throw in is the game to steal is Game 1, because the Knicks will be off from Sunday.
for sure.
So they're going to be a little rusty, and the Sixers will have a nice 2 days off, which is kind of perfect. So that's the game to steal.
Yeah, and especially since like the Knicks might, like Omar was saying, they watch some film on Miami game. Maybe we should mix in some zone, and now they start doing something that they really aren't good at because they saw the Sixers struggled with something. And
Tibbs is a good defensive coach, so I don't think he's going to change his philosophy. But the one thing I heard people saying, Omar, if you want to, is that he doesn't use his role players enough. Like he just weighs very heavily on his starters, and that could end up being a weakness.
He's gotten better over time. He thought about going to an 8-man rotation. It's 9. I think he's going to stick with the 9 because it's a good rotation. And really, honestly, Bogdan has gained more confidence, so he's gotten to play more minutes. But the only last thing I wanted to add is, the pressure is all on the Knicks, right? The Sixers can lose and it's fine, and Embiid's hurt. It's all those things. The Knicks, if somehow they end up losing, the city will be on fire, right? Like they're the 2nd seed. They've won 50 games. So they won a thing last. It's all on the Knicks. It is all on the Knicks. Embiid gets to get the pass again.
The Knicks don't have that history over the last 5-6 years of losing in the second round, Embiid not playing well. The coaching, all that, and the Sixers do. I think
there's a ton of pressure on Embiid, man.
Brunson in the national media, MVP talks, didn't make the Olympics. It is. If the Knicks somehow find a way to lose this season,
another thing too. We're saying, what have the Knicks and those players shown? What have they shown in the playoffs that they?
Brunson is proven. He's proven. But you're right. Those role players. You're asking DiVincenzo, again, a guy that was averaging X amount of minutes, now started playing double the amount of minutes to continue 40% from 3. And it's playoff basketball. We haven't seen it. You're right. So, and that's why I'm saying it is the role players that are overachieving on both ends, and you just don't know, right? You saw it last year. We couldn't find another guy when Brunson didn't have another guy, and we lost. So this year we feel like it's different, but a guy doesn't step up, and really is DiVincenzo's the other offensive person that's going to give you 20 plus. So if he doesn't knock down shots,
I've seen him go cold.
I don't know what to do, right? Hartenstein, he'll be solid. Hart's not a great shooter, he's so. The Knicks are going to go small. You talked about the rebounding, right? DiVincenzo, Hart's a good rebounder, but they're playing a little small, so it'll be a good series. I like the matchup. I'm excited for it.
Omar, what do you think the best matchup for defensively for Maxey? Like, who are they going to put DiVincenzo on him? Or put OG on him?
OG.
It's definitely OG.
Yeah.
See, I think just from what I was reading a little bit, they might try to make OG like a roamer, like try to flip in between Maxey and help on Embiid, depending on, I guess, who's in the middle. But he's their best defender straight up to be, for Maxey. Although, don't sleep on Brunson, but yeah.
Well, Josh Hart could play a big role when it comes to Embiid, I think, in the middle, because he's been pretty beastly lately with his defensive rebounds. It was like 13 rebounds a game or something like that.
He is a great rebounder.
And Embiid's got like 6 inches on Hart. Hart's good in position; he can get in, but if Embiid's
not gonna, like, guard him,
if Embiid's playing right, he shouldn't be getting out rebounded by Hart. Yeah.
All right. Well, for you,
Harris, yes, Hart will out rebound Harris.
Just a programming note for you Phillies fans. Might have to push. Might have to
cut the Phillies until next week.
As we're going a little bit long here, and we still haven't covered the season, so we might have to push Phillies till another day. Yeah. We shall see. All right, let's go around the league now, around the NBA. I don't know. We just doing our kind of East West and kind of how we do, or do you want to go series by series?
We're 45 minutes in. I don't know.
Maybe not talk, but just give who do you think's going to win it each series?
Yeah.
All right. So we'll go to we'll start in the East. We'll start in the West, and we'll start with one versus the play-in. OKC versus either the Pelicans or the Kings. Jason,
Yeah, OKC's going to win that.
Chalk,
OKC.
Meeker,
Yeah.
and Omar.
Yep, same.
Yeah, and same. I don't think anybody's going to go. All right, let's shift down. Denver will be playing the Lakers, and we'll start with Omar this time.
That's Denver.
Meeker,
Yeah.
Chalky,
Interesting series, but Denver will win.
Denver.
and Jason.
Yep.
Yeah, and I as well. All right, so now we get a little bit tougher one. The Clippers, Dallas. Dallas is a -125. Chalky.
Kawhi is still up in the air, so I got to go Dallas without knowing how he's going to play.
Meeker.
I like Dallas.
Jason.
Dallas.
And Omar.
Dallas is a lock.
I had Dallas as well. It's a little scary. All right, Minnesota, Phoenix. Phoenix is -130. Meeker, you're first.
Yeah, I think these teams like OKC and Minnesota are making their first trip to the playoffs. But OKC is going to obviously have an easy game, easy series. But I think this goes Phoenix's way. I think they have a little more talent than like a team like New Orleans or Sacramento. They can win that series.
All right, Jason.
Yeah, I have to go with Phoenix here. Was just looking it up. Karl Anthony Towns is back, right? Is he back? I know he was out for a while.
He's back. Yes, he's back.
Yes.
He's back.
I think it's going to be a tougher series than people think. I think it might go long, but I have to lean with Phoenix in that.
And Omar.
I actually said Phoenix as well. Towns doesn't look like he fits in the offense anymore.
And Chalky.
I'm actually going to go Minnesota here.
Okay. Yeah, I had Phoenix as well. So we have one desertion in Chalky with Minnesota. That's something. All right, we'll just finish off with the West. So now our second matchup will be OKC and Dallas. Now it's getting a little tougher. Jason?
I'll go with Dallas. I mean, Omar knows I've been talking about Dallas for a couple of years now. I actually like the Irving and Luka Doncic combination. So I'm going with an upset there with Dallas.
Yeah, I was actually Dallas as well for that one. Meeker?
I agree. Yep, I'm going to go Dallas as well.
All right, Chalky.
I would have to go Dallas there.
Okay, so Omar.
It's unanimous.
We know who's winning that
So
series.
Omar,
Okay.
so let me stop there. So Omar, have you now come around to me telling you Dallas was good now with Kyrie and Luka, or because you didn't like it before?
They took some time to gel.
Okay.
But
I think some of that too is a little bit like Meeker's point with OKC, like the first run at the playoffs, like they have an easy first round. Now they're going and playing a second tough round. Are they?
And I have OKC at like 45-1 to win the West, so I'm going to be rooting for OKC.
Yeah.
But
All right, now so that brings us to Denver and Phoenix. Chalky.
Denver.
Okay. Meeker.
Denver.
Omar.
Denver.
Jason.
the Nuggets.
I have
I'll
the
be
Denver
different.
Nuggets as well. Okay, so I think we only have
Technically, I have Denver beating Minnesota, but yes, Denver wins.
I think we have only one difference so far. So it would be you have Denver, Minnesota. Okay, so now we're at Denver, and all of us had Dallas, so it would be Denver, Dallas. Omar,
Denver.
all right, Meeker,
I struggle with this. I think Dallas can give him a really good series, but nah, I'm just going to have to go with Denver here.
Jason,
Have to go with the Nuggets.
and Chalky.
Denver.
Denver for me. All right, so we have one non. The NBA is chalky too. So like
It's
that's
usually
not-
chalky.
Yeah.
It's usually
Yeah.
chalky.
So Denver goes again in the West. Let's see, who do they face in the East? I have a suspicion. All right, we have Boston will be playing either Miami or Chicago. Everybody got Boston before I go around the horn.
Well, how about who thinks tomorrow night's game? Who does everybody think? Who's going to win?
So is
the
Butler
Heat?
playing?
Nope.
Is that
He's out.
He's out for a couple weeks, they said.
I still think they win, the Heat. I still
think
think
they
they
win.
win.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I think
Bulls, yeah.
that might just deflate them a little bit too. Not having Butler.
They got some some clutch players on that. I love that Hawkes guy. That kid's going to be really
I mean, Spo's going to outcoach Donovan. I just don't know if they have enough. I would say Chicago, but very lukewarm.
But yeah, I mean, obviously, Celtics are going to annihilate whoever they get.
Yeah. And
yeah,
all
but
right,
you want the Heat to beat them up. That's why you want the Heat.
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, that's for sure. That's a good point. All right, Knicks, Sixers, we covered. So we'll go Cleveland and Orlando. Cleveland is minus 195. Jason.
I'm going to go with the Magic.
Chalky.
I'm also going with the Magic.
Meeker.
I'm going to go Cleveland.
Omar.
Yeah, Cleveland's factored in. It's the Magic.
Yeah, I actually had Cleveland on this one. I don't know if that Magic team's ready as well. Milwaukee, Indiana. Milwaukee is minus 120. I'm assuming that's the not having Giannis. Have they announced how long he's out for?
2 games.
At least one game. At least one.
Oh, is it now down to 1? I heard 2, but maybe it
Yeah,
changed.
so that's a tough one. I mean, these injury series are always makes it a little bit harder. Chalky.
I'm going Pacers.
Meeker.
Same.
Omar.
I went Pacers as well.
And Jason. Obviously, I would
Same.
Pacers as well. All right, so we have Boston will be playing the variation of Cleveland or Orlando, depending on who you pick. Meeker?
Boston.
Yeah. Omar?
Belts.
Jason?
Yeah, Boston.
And Chalky.
Boston.
And I have Boston as well. Okay, we have Sixers or Knicks versus the Pacers. Omar, we'll let you go first. You have the Knicks versus Pacers. Who you got?
Yeah, that's definitely Knicks.
Definitely Knicks. All right. Jason.
I have the Sixers beating the Pacers.
Jimmy.
Sixers. But I think the Knicks would beat the Pacers as well if they got through.
And Meeker.
Yeah, I'm going Sixers. I think that'll be a tough series, though. Tougher than we think.
Yeah, I agree with Meeker, but ultimately I took the Sixers. All right.
Yeah.
We have Meeker, Boston are playing the Sixers. Eastern Conference Finals. The Sixers got over the hump. Do they make it to the championship to play Denver?
No.
Jimmy.
No.
Okay. Jason.
No.
And Omar, do the Knicks beat Boston?
No.
Okay, and I agree. Boston does not lose. And we have the not much predicted by any of the pundits, Boston versus Denver Finals. Jason, we'll let you go first. Boston, Denver.
I just think that the Nuggets match up really well with Boston, so I got to go with Denver again. I think they're going to win back-to-back.
Chalky.
Boston.
And Meeker.
I'm going Denver as well.
Yeah, that high altitude does play a factor. Omar.
It does.
You can't go against Denver.
I think Boston gets over the hump, and I think it's their year.
I would get a
have
free
Boston.
dinner if that's the case. I have Boston.
Yeah, I think I have the Knicks and
At least
Sixers.
Meeker was consistent and picked against Boston again instead of drafting them number 1. But
Yeah, Chalky, you have Denver, so you could win.
it could be one of
Am
us.
I the
would have our
only one
second
that
win.
the two they play each other? 2 of the 4 teams play each other in the
I think
first
so.
series. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
I think so.
Think so, yeah. I might be out of playoff. If the Heat don't win the play-in tomorrow, then I'm out. I'm down a team already to start.
Can I give an update on our NBA season preview?
Yeah, and then
predictions?
we'll go into the. We'll probably just. I mean, we don't have to cover the Phillies. We could just finish with the Masters. I mean,
Yeah, and then
we don't really have much Phillies talk anyway.
No,
besides,
I agree.
So, all right, yeah, go give some updates if
Yeah.
you
So
listen.
since Meeker didn't want to hear his predictions again, we'll start with Meeker. He loved the Sacramento Kings. He had them going to the finals.
Finals.
yeah.
Oh my
Finals.
God.
Yeah.
They will make the playoffs, though, at least. I think they'll win.
Yeah, they'll win because Zion's hurt, or they wouldn't be winning. He loved the Bucks, obviously, because he took the Bucks over the Celtics when he had the first draft pick.
Well, now they're even worse with this coach, so that just killed it.
Yeah, I don't think anybody predicted a Doc Rivers Milwaukee when they were in second place in the conference.
So here's the gem that I'm most proud of Meeker on. He had Brandon Miller to win the Rookie of the Year. this year over Wembanyama.
Oh, I kind of remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'll give you
gotta
this.
go against the chalk. I mean,
No, you don't. Not in that case. He's like the best player in the last 20 years that came into the league. I'll give you credit because you said Gobert, even though he was chalk to win Defensive Player of the Year. And you did have Dallas to win the division. So I'll give you a little credit there. But so Chalky was interesting. So he had Orlando to win the division at 8-1, which is a great pick. He actually mentioned the Sixers getting Buddy Hield. So how about
So did
that?
I.
Not you, Chalky.
No, I mentioned that.
On
Plenty of podcasts before it actually happened.
Not on the preview that I listened
Yeah,
to.
this is before the season started.
Oh, you said that before the season?
He said it before the season started.
Yeah, you listened to me say it, and then you just repeated it
Exactly.
for a few
Oh,
weeks
I
after.
didn't even know you said it, apparently.
Right.
I don't remember saying it. I'll be honest. I don't remember saying it. I didn't re-listen. I didn't re-listen to the episode, but
I listened.
There's a lot of shit on the wall, and whatever sticks, sometimes it sticks.
I saw somebody say it on Twitter, and I probably just repeated it.
Probably, yeah. Now listen, I gotta pat myself on the back here. I had 5 out of the 6 division winners, including OKC at 6-1 to win the division. Orlando, I also had at 8-1. I had Dallas at 2-1. And then I had the Chalks, the Celtics, and Milwaukee. The only one I got wrong was I had Phoenix instead of the Clippers.
Yeah.
But that if I would have parlayed that would have been like 1,000-1.
Yeah, at least.
At least. So I didn't bet it. So I'm glad that didn't hit. But I had it's chalk, but I had Jokic to win MVP. I had SGA also I brought up to win MVP at 18-1. And then I brought up Wembanyama to win Defensive Player of the Year. I don't think he's going to win, but he was 50-1, and he's probably going to finish right behind Gobert. So, and Tommy, you cut out.
I don't even remember the show.
You weren't on the show.
No, he was, but then his
he cut out. That's right.
Cut out. I don't know what happened. He got knocked off the internet or something. So
don't remember.
I have nothing from you, but
I actually had in my notes, looking back, 16 of the 16 playoff teams that I had. Perfect.
Did you?
No, I have no idea.
I was about to say that's pretty good considering there's only 14 playoff teams right now.
I would love to have Omar come on for next year's NBA season preview, but
I can't wait. I don't know. I mean, after what happens this series, if you guys would allow me to come back,
listen.
I'd love it.
Oh, we have enemies on all the time. We have Walt on, and I will say, a minor problem getting on, but Omar has had no technical difficulties.
No,
for the
I'm
first
surprised.
guest
I'm
ever.
actually surprised at him in even having the email technical difficulty, but
on air we've
slack.
had 0 from a guest for the first time ever. So that's another. It took 102 episodes, but we finally got it. All right, well we got it. We'll finish off with a couple more minutes with our Masters recap quickly. We saw who Scheffler. Scheffler won the Masters. I know I did. I know Kevin did. I think Kevin did. Jason did. Chalky, did you have Scheffler to win as well? I don't recall.
Not as a straight up bet, but I had him in some parlays. So yeah, I hit a couple.
But I mean, on not you personally. I mean, like on the.
Oh yeah,
on the podcast.
I mean, right, but I wasn't betting him at 4-1 or 5-1.
Yeah, I mean, me and Jason said he's gonna. I had him as the winner of the Masters. Yeah. But again, yeah, nothing.
Yeah, I said he can win, but just I can't bet him.
But then with our draft, Jason, you have results.
I do. But before I get to that, Scheffler, do we think he's the best since Tiger Woods? I do.
Oh, hands down.
Right?
He's got. I mean, he's got a chance.
He's got a chance to win. I think 3 out of the 4.
There's nobody else like even in their like brief run, like Rory when he was the talk, like he never had a run like this. DJ when he was the talk for a minute, he never had a run like this. Like outside of Tiger,
Mickelson, not Mickelson either.
No,
I think Spieth got a little hype because he won the Masters in the U.S. that year, and then he almost won the British and almost won the PGA that year. So that 2015 was a real good run for him, and he was young, but he hasn't continued at that level, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, he's just incredible. I mean, he's
really unbelievable. And we said it last year. Like if he straightens out his putting, he's going.
I mean, I'm half joking because I hope I get the number 1 pick next time. I can take Scheffler, but like, if he plays like this, really, we should draft everybody but Scheffler because, or each, if we have 4 people, each one gets Scheffler for 1 tournament because it's not really fair to have him the whole time if he's just tearing it up like this. But it was, yeah.
But getting into that, so Omar, what we did, Amik, we did a draft, and then we each took a golfer. So remember, like the pools we used to play, Omar, where like you pick, 6 golfers and 5 of them count, and you could drop your lowest score, right? So I had the first pick, so I took Scheffler. So I actually won. I finished +4. There was some scoring. I mean, it wasn't low scoring at all in this year's Masters, except for Scheffler. But
actually, it was about the average. The final score for Scheffler was about the average over the last 10 years, which is 11.5.
But everybody else,
he was the only one. Yeah,
right,
he was the only one.
Chalky got second at +16. Tommy, you had the same issue you had in the Players, where you had 2 guys that missed.
I was with Chalky on Sunday, and I was
going to say,
what's the draft looking like? I said I should be pretty good. I was like had a couple guys. He goes, no, you had 2 guys missed the cut. I said, no, I didn't. I had 1. He said Justin Thomas. I said, no, he wasn't. He was like 3 under. Then we look at his score. Collapsed. He was like 9 over in the last 3 holes or something like that.
He totally.
I stopped watching.
That was fun watching the reaction to that. I was like, nah, you had 2 guys. You had 2 guys that missed the cut.
I said, he shot. He was like 9 over in the last 4 holes.
Yeah,
so you actually.
Meltdown City.
Even with that, you finished 3rd. You beat Kevin. Kevin was terrible. Kevin was +27 with his guys, but you were +20. Because you had to take that.
Yeah.
So, but
it's a couple good picks, but it was. Outside of Scheffler, did we?
Did any of you guys take Oberg? Did any of you guys pick him?
Chalky had Oberg.
I had Oberg. Yeah.
Yeah, he actually.
I had him to win and in the draft.
If Igas Swiatek wins the French Open, I'm going to crush. And I know Chalky's the same way with Scheffler, because like we parlayed him with her to win the French Open. But Schauffele played okay. I mean, what did he finish?
Yeah,
like
he struggled. His first round kind of hurt him,
and his last round, the middle rounds, he was pretty good. Like, he wasn't that great on Sunday. Other than that, you had Cam Smith played well. Tommy gave that out, and then other than that, though, and then
there's a lot of disappointing. Like Koepka was very disappointing. He just terrible. Didn't have it, and then kind of just never really tried. It didn't even seem like. Trying to think of some of the other guys that we talked about that just were flat, never were involved in.
Matsuyama.
Yeah, Matsuyama was terrible.
Yeah.
But they got and then you get a guy like Homa who we take usually in every draft, and nobody took him this time, and he ends up.
Hovland, the one thing we all faded Hovland. We
faded Hovland correctly, yes.
And I did have DeChambeau to lead after the first round, so I did hit that bet too.
Yeah,
I picked a bunch of guys, but he was one of them.
Yeah, and we did lose the cut bet because of Justin Rose.
Yeah, he by 1 stroke too. It wound up only being 1 stroke. Yeah,
I didn't realize.
Yeah,
I know. So Kitayama made it easily. Kirk was tough there for a while, but then he wound up getting there.
Because Jason and I were texting, and I said it won't matter with Rose because Kirk's not going to get there, but he pulled it out.
And Straka, he was I don't know what he actually finished, but he was like
15th or 16th.
Yeah, good.
He tied for 16th at +2.
So overall, not. The picks for the pick, like we picked the winner. It's like it's getting to be that situation where like you got to pick. You picking Scheffler, and he's going to be. Now 4-1 was a gift, I guess. But that's what happens. But it does draw attention to the sport when there is a guy like this. So next is the PGA, right?
PGA is it's actually the same weekend as the Preakness, so that week shows might be
jacked up.
Tough, yeah.
All right, well, Omar, any parting words for the Broad Street Hustle listeners as a Knicks fan, as first-time guest?
No, not really. This is great. Like I said, it's going to be a good series.
Listen, Omar, we need triple-digit listeners, so we need you to.
No, we're going to get this out to the New York folks. And I didn't get a chance to look it up and stuff, but this is you do give advice and stuff. So is there a bet right now that any of you guys have? If I go in DraftKings or anything like that, you think I should take NBA or otherwise.
Huh.
So there's I don't have the odds up in front of me because I can't get them live in PA except on Bovada. The draft, NBA, NFL draft next week, which I don't know if we'll cover or not. If there's a bet to first receiver taken, I think it's is it Neighbors, who's the receiver from LSU. I think there's an outside shot. One team takes him instead of Harrison. Harrison seems to be the lock, but I would say that's a non-chalky pick.
I think Harrison's he could be an all-time receiver.
Harrison would have been the first receiver taken last year if he would have came out by far. But some people really like the kid from LSU. So you just need the one team to like him a little better.
So my advice is there's a guy named Max Verstappen who is an F1 Formula One driver who never loses. Now his odds are like minus 450 every race, but he never loses. He just doesn't lose. So what you do, and what Chalky and I have been doing, is we parlay him. Like I parlayed him with Scheffler, but then that didn't even move Scheffler's odds up enough. So then I parlayed that with Iga Swiatek to win the French Open because she does not lose on clay. So if you parlay Verstappen and Iga in the French Open only, because then she doesn't lose on clay, she loses in the other surfaces. With something you're betting, it's going to boost the odds up like crazy, double them. So
Omar, you can tell your New York friends who listen to podcasts and gambling shows, Broad Street Hustle gives you Formula One winners and French Open winners.
And Kentucky Derby coming up, too. Kentucky Derby.
Yeah. We have some history with that.
Yeah, Omar. We took Omar to Saratoga one year.
Oh,
The biggest excitement for him was when you looked out our back window, there was a McDonald's there. Which was
this the year Jason almost got arrested at the Boston market, or was that a different year?
I was that year. Yes,
that year.
They made my sandwich wrong after I told them 3 times, and they purposely made it wrong because I told them 3 times, and I went and I threw the receipt in the manager's face. Which
good times.
I shouldn't have done, but
good show, guys. Next week is we'll decide on scheduling the draft. There's Phillies baseball. We'll be deep into Sixers-Knicks at that point. So we'll have a lot to talk about. Episode 102 of Broad Street Hustle. Have a great night.